give us an update on Darcy Fogarty and that compound fracture in the finger? Not fracture, dislocation.
Yeah, no, I think he's okay. We got back out and played, which was really pleasing. So I guess I'll just have to have a look at it this morning and see how it's put up over the last couple of days. But for him to get back out and play was, it was pretty courageous by him, and the doctor was no worries with it at that point in time. So hopefully it's clean. I think the biggest thing with those injuries is hopefully there's no infection when the skin gets broken. But yeah, fingers crossed he gets up this week.
It was sticking out at right angles. It was hideous.
Yeah.
Will he need surgery now?
No, I don't think so. No, I think it's just a clean dislocation, if that makes any sense at all. So, yeah, we're pretty optimistic.
Any other sore boys?
Yeah, a lot of sore boys when you get to around 17, 18.
Any other sore boys of note?
No, I don't think so. No. Brownie was a bit sore in the SNFL, got his knee caught up or twisted in a bit of a marking contest, but I think that's about the only one that's would be in doubt for this week.
Speaking of Sample, Matt Crouch, another 40 disposal game there. I mean, surely he's knocking on the door, right now to get back in the AFL team.
Oh, he's always knocking on the door. He's a very good player, Crouchy. It's 2 weeks in a row. I think the really pleasing thing from a club point of view is the way he's gone back and performed. He's really embraced the team down there. The team's doing very well. We said that before the SNFL, and he's gone back there, and you would have seen on the weekend there was some real quality in what he did, and I'm not sure what's going to happen this week. We're reasonably happy, I guess, with the contest that we had with our newer mix of players inside, and Lady and Keezy are obviously playing some very good football as well, but we'll go through that as a group later in the week.
What's the balance you kind of have to strike, giving some of the young guys, go in the middle, but also rewarding, strike form like Matt has had in the sample?
No, we want your best 22 playing week in, week out. So, yeah, we'll make a decision later this week whether Matty comes in or not, but he's certainly knocking on the door. He's doing everything right, and we've been really proud the way he's gone about it the last couple of weeks.
What was it that impressed you? I think he has said, and the coach has said, and everyone has said it just needs to be more damaging. Was he more damaging? It certainly looked like it from a spectator's point of view.
Well, what impressed me the most was his attitude. I'll go back to that. Just willing to embrace the SNFL, go back there and perform at the level that we really needed. It's also the sacrificial stuff he does back there, the tackling, to make his teammates better. I mean, it's probably Zach Taylor's best game for us in the midfield this year. So the support that Matty's given those boys has been fantastic as well.
You mentioned best 22 before. Is Matt Crouch, is he in your best 22, do you feel like?
Oh, when he's at his best, yeah, there's no doubt. He's got the runs on the board. He's missed a few years, obviously, with injuries, or a year and a half that really hurt him, I thought, probably, don't go back to last year, but he's really getting some continuity now. And, there's no write-off with Matty Crouch. When he's at his best, he's a very, very good AFL player, and he's done everything right, like I've said. Really happy with his attitude, but, what we do is we'll assess who's sore, who's not sore this week, and find out the best mix that we think's for us and the best mix to play Hawthorn.
So if not now, when, Scott? Given his attitude's fantastic, he's performing to the level, he's doing everything that's asked of him. If not at this point in time for him to be recalled, what more can that man do?
We just got to keep doing what he's doing. There's a lot of players that are playing really good footy underneath. Theo, like you've got Billy Frampton, Benny Davis has nearly been our best defender, Josh Worrell. There's a huge amount of players underneath that have been playing terrific football. So to answer that question, I don't know.
They're not club champions that have dropped to sample midfield, are they?
No. So who? We can't play 23 in 22 spots, can we?
No, obviously not.
No. So we'll look at it. We'll look at its selection this week. But like I said, the most pleasing thing for us and for Matty is his attitude and the way that he's performed and the way he's gone about it. We're wrapped with the way he's done it, and it says a lot about the football club in general that we've got selfless individuals that think of the team higher than themselves, and Matty's been terrific. And we talk about Matty a lot, but Luke Brown doesn't get mentioned too much at all. His last SNFL game was in 2012. So he's been a terrific servant for the football club as well. And it's tough sometimes. That happens in careers. It's whether it's injury or whether it's a bit of form or whether you're getting closer to 30. These things happen, and it's how you deal with it an individual. And I guess you can go down two paths. You can think about yourself or think about the team. And both those boys have thought about the team and the football club, which is something that we've been extremely happy with as coaches.
You must have been proud with the effort on Saturday night, albeit a couple of execution errors. The intent and the aggression from the guys was pretty solid.
Yeah, there's a bit of everything. Obviously, the execution there was there at times. There was a few defensive acts that we could have done better, and Contest-wise was pleasing, but when you got those balls that they've got inside at times, it's hard to match. And if you said pre-game that you're less than a goal down and had a couple more inside 50s halfway through the last quarter, you'd take that and go from there. We generally finish games reasonably strongly, and it was just disappointing we couldn't get it done this time. And like I said on radio earlier this morning too, the Giant was awoken last week, I think, when they'd been prodded with 3 losses and they absolutely belted Brisbane by 10 goals. So they weren't taking us lightly at all this year, and it was really pleasing because it really tested our boys out, and unfortunately couldn't get it done, but there were some promising signs.
Is your ball movement a focus this week, given the 30 intercept mark again?
Yeah, ball movement's always a focus. Yeah, look, that's an area that actually has improved. Unfortunately on the weekend, the ones that stand out are the ones we get frustrated with, that you might have a little bit of time and space and don't hit targets. But geez, there were some brilliant marks down there as well in terms of 1v1 marking, which they're elite at. The other thing I thought they did really well was just pressure us around the ball, so there was a bit of surge kicking away from those contests, and even their high defenders, not just Lever and May, their high defenders intercepted a few marks as well.
Did you think of, did at one point you think of tagging Oliver or Petrarca?
Yeah, there's always those conversations inside. I mean, when you're looking at the game, like I said about when there's nothing in the game halfway through the last quarter, we're doing a lot of things right, and I'm sure they would have had questions as well. I mean, Keezy's kicked a couple, Letty's kicked one and had 30, so they were damaging for us. You know, they certainly would have had questions with Melbourne whether they tagged Dawson the way he was controlling the game across half back there for 2.5 quarters.
How have you made of what have you made of Josh Rochelli's past 2 weeks? I think 6 touches against Melbourne, 5 against North. Probably not getting his hands on the footy as much as you want him to. Yeah, no, look, he's a young fella. He's been terrific. When he's come in this year, we've seen what he can do. Had a few niggles, so we gave him that breather. It's not like round 1, 2 or 3 when people don't really know about you too much. I think Kane Turner, who's probably North's best run with player, was on him down at Hobart, and it's pretty hard to get a kick on. So yeah, look, it's just a phase that all young players go through. But you know, he's back out on the track and training, which is a good sign compared to where he was probably a month ago when he wasn't out there.
Is someone like him, who we all know has such a great future, does he get a leaner run at selection if he has another couple of lean weeks? Does he get an easier run at selection because of the talent he could be?
No, what you're saying. Nah, we've got to be careful too. There's players who are younger and inexperienced. You don't want to keep them going when they're not up to form, whether it's physically or mentally. But there's certainly, when you've seen players who have played good football at this level, and you can see them training well, you expect them to turn it around. So, yeah, look, it's just a little challenge for Joshy, and it's one that he's going to have for the next 10 years in football in some sort. There's always challenges, and he's got one at the moment.
On Saturday, sorry, Cameron, on Saturday, was there a point where Melbourne just sort of structure up a little bit better? How do you see the balance between like the way they structure up and their execution? You know what I mean? Like sometimes if you put sort of your plays in their structure, they might be able to limit the damage that they conceded with their defenders particularly. Do you feel like they got on top in terms of purely the way they structure up, or do you think it's a personnel thing?
No, I didn't think it was structure as much. Yeah, one of the areas, probably the second quarter, was the one that hurt us a little bit when we dominated field position. We couldn't score. That was more worrying. Like, you can't do too much sometimes when the pressure's on you. You have to get the surge kick or get the ball moving forward, and you know they've obviously intercepted it. We still had quite a few intercept marks across halfback as well, but it was more those slower held balls that we just didn't quite get our bang for buck, and we've actually been pretty good over that the last month or so. So it's what are we playing, the premiership team? That's why they're the premiership team. I mean, they're a team that somehow has kicked 17 goals in a quarter and a half in a grand final 12 months earlier. They're a brilliant team.
Do you get Shane, Ned and Will back?
Yeah, good question. I think Will might just have 1 or 2 little hoops to get through with the concussion protocols, but it was looking pretty good last week. I think Ned's trained well over the weekend, and Shane, I'm not sure, but it was better than what we thought going into last week. So we'll just have to make sure we have a look at them out on the track this week and see where they're at.
With Will, because this is his 5th concussion, I think, do you kind of, be very cautious with it, given his history?
Oh, we need to all the time with any concussion, but yeah, the doctors will be all over that. You're completely out of my depth.
Is it a good time to play Hawthorn? I mean, given that the game they had yesterday, torrential conditions, real kind of slog. I mean, do you feel like you might be able to get a little bit of advantage of them, given they're going to be that sore from that game? Yeah, I always found wet weather games you don't get a sore, actually, to tell you the truth. You might get a little corky, but
improves pretty quickly. The ones you get sore and more fatigued are the hot games, the dry games, where it's high-speed games. They're the ones you get sore in your hammies, your lower backs. So generally, the wet weather games, you could get through them pretty well.
Sam Berry seems to be taking his opportunity at senior level, particularly with his tackling.
Yeah. Look, he's been really pleasing. I said to VB at the end of the game, where were you at in your second year? Could you do any of the things that Sam's doing at the moment? And it's no. Sam's still got a few areas he needs to work on, but I think there was one centre bounce on the weekend. We had Berry in there with Saligo and Schoenberg, and Hingy was out on the wing v Langdon, and they were excellent in there. We got it, we cleared it, and we hit Foglace out in the forward 50s. So it's really pleasing that we're getting a young group of players together and they're starting to understand each other's games. And we've been really pleased with the way Bez has come along the last 6 weeks. And he had to earn it. He had a good 4 to 6 weeks of SANFL football underneath before he got the opportunity again, and there's certainly been some growth in his game from where he was last year.
How important is it to have a player like Berry, who might not get a lot of the ball, but is putting on that kind of pressure against a team like Melbourne?
Oh, any team. Yeah, you need to you need to have that contest around the ball, because you need to restrict, obviously, the quality of movement that the opposition are getting around those contests. And the other thing with what Sam's added to his game, he's starting to burst a little bit from that contest himself. So that's what we've been really pleased with. He's going both ways, and eventually, in another 30 or 40 games, we believe that he could be a very, very good AFL midfielder.